And that's where I want to transition into when I talk about I have a dream today. Because, I found it very interesting that a comment was made by a very, very well respected individual in this country. Someone that many of us look up to, a person that most of us follow, a person who is the leader of the free world. And as I find this post, I want y'all to understand that as so much has changed, so much hasn't changed. So here we go. Here's the post.
Even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
Okay. George Floyd's killing, which is now we can consider an assassination, right? Because he's become so famous. It's a killing, it's a death that has changed this country. Or has it? We want to say that. We don't want to say. It was said that his killing created was had a bigger effect than Dr. King's assassination. And I go, whew. King died in 68. Floyd died in 2020. 68 to 2020, that's what? 68 to 08, that's 40 years. So 08 to 18, that's 50 years. So 52 years. And all I'm seeing is discussions and not decisions. And we're trying to reverse that, right? Because after Floyd's murder, we saw a lot of discussions. We saw a lot of talking. But we really did not see decisions. And that scares me. That truly scares me that we can take something that two incidents that happened 50 years apart. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one of the most prolific speakers that this country has ever seen, one of the greatest grassroots leaders that this country has ever seen, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, which lets you know that his fight was bigger than him. It was bigger than his region. It was bigger than his country. It had the eye of the world. And George Floyd, an unknown name until he passed away, we're saying that his passing is more impactful than the passing of one of the greatest leaders that this world, especially this country, name one bigger in the Black community, has seen, right? We say that. And when I first hear it, I go, oh, that's cringy. How could you say anything like that? And then I go, damn, you may be right. Now, context matters. George Floyd's passing, his killing, his murder happened during a pandemic. And with that, there are less people there are less people who are busy, more people who are at home. So you're able to really take it in and think about it. But I'll say to you, if George Floyd's passing was more impactful than Dr. King's assassination, because when you talk about Dr. King's assassination, you have to talk about Dr. King's life. And losing that life and the change that he fought for, the change that he was fighting for, the progress that he had made. Because I saw a chart the other day that really shows how the wealth gap between Black and white has increased exponentially over the last 50 years. You'd be willing to say that, well, damn. what did King's assassination mean to America? Where you could say that George Floyd's assassination, George Floyd's murder, George Floyd's death is bigger than King's? It had more impact on your side, but not on ours, because when we saw that King started fighting for poor people, when he realized it was no longer a racial war, it was a war versus the haves and the have-nots. That's when he wasn't here anymore. So when we see that, we go, how dare anybody tell us that Dr. King's passing is less than another person's passing? Because guess what? You're not Coretta. You're not Bernice. You're not Martin the Third. You're not his friends. You're not his family. You're not his loved ones. You're not George Floyd's family. You're not Stephen Jackson. You're not his kid. You're not his significant other. You're not his mother, his father, anybody in that, any of these people's lives who are still living and have to cope with the fact that they lost a loved one. Yeah, they were martyrs. Martyrs for a great cause. But come on, man. It's not your cause. It may be a cause that you support now. It may be a cause that you want to be a participant in, but like, hey, look, that's your loved one. You can have a loved one die because it's their own fault. They can take their own life. They can jump in front of a train. They can shoot themselves. They can go to war and die defending their country. And guess what? There is no words that anybody else can say, no matter how good the deed it was that they did, that they died for, that'll give you the peace of losing someone that you knew and you cared about. I'm just being honest.